Donald Trump is once again making headlines, and I have to say that it's getting out of hand. It all started with what he said.
Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath. That's going to be the least of it.
Now, this word, bloodbath, has been taken out of proportion, and almost every news media outlet is talking about that specifically without considering the context of it. And even the former vice president, who's not endorsing Trump anymore, said this.
The president was clearly talking about the impact of imports devastating the American automotive industry.
If you ask me, no one would say such a word on stage, let alone a candidate. It just doesn't make sense because, think about it, no side of the election wants such a thing to happen. So would he just jeopardize his people's vote for one word? The media just wants to report on something that is catchy and attention-grabbing. As long as the ratings are good, they don't care about the consequences or the narrative that they're putting out. Now, this has turned into another week's worth of content for them, if not longer. Let me ask you this. How many times have you seen a group of people debating, or should I say, shouting at each other on TV, just over one statement that was blown out of proportion? It is ridiculous, but it is the way it works. Think about it. Donald Trump said something, and now they're arguing if he meant the auto industry or other implications. But no one, and I mean no one, has talked about the real issue here, the one that starts it all. So we're going to. What is really happening in the auto industry? Is it that serious? Well, where should we even start? Because the rabbit hole is deeper than you think. China is coming to Mexico, and even American companies are going to Mexico and leaving the US. Big giants like Ford, GM, and Toyota are all planning on, or at least rumored to be opening new plants there. If you want to know why they're doing this, then just zoom in on one of them. Let's take Ford for instance. Jim Farley, the big boss, hinted that recent strikes have really shaken things up with the UAW. It's almost as if he's pointing fingers, suggesting the union and its members drop the ball. But that is not just it. This is beyond that, and blaming the people would never work out for them. The real reason Ford's got its eyes on Mexico is simple, and you guessed it, it's all about the green. Farley crunched the numbers and figured that making cars in the US isn't the cash cow it used to be. But Mexico? That's a whole different story. We're talking lower costs, no union hassles. For a giant like Ford, it's like hitting the jackpot. The whole point of manufacturing is to make profits, so it's a no-brainer that these companies will never just leave an opportunity like this. If they did, they wouldn't have been as successful as they are. This is capitalism. This is the way it works. But who is going to suffer for all of this? It's you and me. It's going to be a disaster, and in the words of the former president, it is going to be a bloodbath. Let me explain. Ford's already been on a trimming spree, saying goodbye to over 15,000 of its crew in just half a year. Not all were from their home turf, but a big chunk were. There is, or should I say, there was a bustling factory in Germany, now silent. 4,500 jobs vanished. And that's not all. They've turned off the lights in Spain as well. Stateside, the pink slips have been flying out by the thousands. Just imagine every car company leaving the States, leaving a trail of vanished jobs in the US. These aren't just any jobs, they're the kind that keep the American dream running on full throttle. The ripple effect is going to be massive. From the folks on the assembly line to the broader workforce, everyone will be feeling the jolt. The auto industry's like a complex engine in the US economy, hooked up to a network of suppliers and service providers who all rely on those big car plants. Part makers, logistics wizards, maintenance crews, even the local diners where workers grab their lunch, they're all in this together. If the car companies bail, it's not just jobs that are hitting the brake, it's whole communities. But that's not all. Auto workers have skills that don't just switch lanes easily. If their jobs skid off the track, finding a new race to run isn't a walk in the park. We're talking retraining, maybe even hitting the books again, and that's a pit stop that costs time and money. It gets even crazier because the domino effect doesn't stop there. Local economies that revved up around these factories, they'll all stall, sending shockwaves through shops, housing, and even schools thanks to the cash crunch and tax tumble. It's a complex fix that needs some serious thought and strategy to steer clear of the potholes for the workforce and their hometowns. It's not just about jobs, it's about lives and livelihoods, and that's something worth more than politics and news ratings. Now, let me ask you, is this a bloodbath? Thousands of people having no means of making money, their lives crumbling, and the country's economy being damaged so much that we might not even be able to fix it. But what can we do now? Is it as simple as putting 100% tariffs? I mean, it would definitely discourage a lot of Chinese companies, that's for sure, but the problem's not that. The issue is American companies don't consider American soil profitable anymore. They're looking at Mexico, just like the tech companies look at China and India, cheap labor and loose legal restrictions. That means it doesn't cost as much as making them here, and they make a lot more profit than they used to. But this is a tale as old as manufacturing. Countries slowly become producers, and the more they make gross profit, the better the living standards become, which means workers demand more, a better salary, and a better working environment. But that also means that they can use the newly found skilled working class to make better products, since it has better experience and an environment that is suited for critical thinking and innovation. The government could incentivize this, but they're not doing that. Instead, they want to focus on the political side, and honestly, it will be tremendously disastrous. One side is using this opportunity to win hearts and get votes, while at least they're speaking and giving attention to it. But the other side, the current running authority, is just skipping it altogether and doing something that is already failing. Let me explain. Governments are hitting the accelerator on EVs all over the world, offering sweet deals to get manufacturers to go all electric. But hold on to your hats, because if Team Biden keeps flooring it on this electric highway without checking the rearview mirror, we might just hit some speed bumps that we won't recover from. Look at General Motors. They're teetering on the brink, and putting on ridiculous amounts of money on the price tag isn't helping them. Now look at Ford. They're handing over EVs with a staggering $36,000 loss per car. That's like throwing money into a bonfire. And Tesla? The tech wonder of the roads is cutting prices left and right, but the buyers, they're just not biting. Swing by any car lot and you'll see EVs turning into old relics that no one wants to buy. Dealers are backing away from electric chariots, not by choice but by necessity. It's taking a whopping 92 days on average to find these cars a home, way past the industry's 60-day sweet spot. Sure, the market's getting bigger, but it's like we're trying to fill a garage with more cars than it can hold. Last summer, a mind-blowing 92,000 EVs were gathering dust on lots, up a staggering 342% from the previous summer's 21,000. In plain speak, EVs are starting to feel like yesterday's news. But despite all of this, there is a government plan to make all new passenger cars electric, and the craziest thing is, American giants are already losing to China. They've recently knocked Tesla off its throne to claim the top spot in China's massive auto market. And I know what you're thinking, how did they do it? Well, one of the heavy hitters, BYD, takes most of the glory, selling a whopping $3,240,417 of vehicles in 2023 alone. Now, if China comes to Mexico and builds one of their massive plants, it'll be the end of the American giants, who have been focusing way too much on something that they never know how to make practical. American EVs are cool, but that's it. They don't have any other appealing features, and that is not sustainable. We can learn from the fastest growing manufacturer, BYD. One of their real heavy hitters in BYD's lineup is the Seagull, a beast of a car that is the complete opposite of average. And believe me when I say, it's no surprise that this beauty practically flew off the shelves, with a staggering 28,200 units of their BEV entry-level hatchback finding new homes in 2023 alone. And get this, with a price tag just a hair under $10,000, it's an absolute steal for a compact hatchback. They made it practical and priced it at a reasonable range, and under the hood, you've got an amazing battery running on BYD's top-of-the-line e-Platform 3.0. The Seagull doesn't just glide through the streets, it packs a serious punch. It's like BYD took everything you could want in a hatchback and cranked it up to 11. This bad boy is simply superior in so many ways. So is it even a surprise that Tesla is losing to them? Don't get me wrong, there's still more to the story of BYD, but we have already made a video on it, so if you want to know more, go check out our channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you there.